channel. My name's Taylor and this is Wrigley. I just want to welcome you all to our channel. We will be covering baby items, anything to do with baby, mom items, basically just anything baby and anything mom. I figured I always had a lot of questions of the things that we do differently than other people, so I figured making a YouTube channel showing you videos, vlogging, and just things like that would help people understand more rather than writing it out to everybody. So all of these videos will be real life. We're just here to try and help other moms and babies. So all of our videos will be real. He's nursing right now. We tried to record a video before this and he got really angry because he was hungry. He's been playing. So I wanted to start out with our birth story just to kind of introduce me, Wrigley, and my husband, but he's not here. So we got married, me and my husband's name is Anthony. We got married August of 2017. We'd been together since June 7th of 2012. So we got engaged in August of 2014 and married in August of 2016. So after we got married, we knew that we wanted to have kids. We just wasn't sure when. So we kind of just played it out. I had birth control. I had the Nexplanon that was in my arm, and I decided to go get that out in January of 2017. So I went and got it out, and my doctor told me I told her that we were going to start trying, but you know, it was kind of just if we got pregnant, we got pregnant. If not, we would keep trying. It wasn't that big of a deal. So I got my birth control taken out, and my doctor told me that I could get pregnant the next day if, you know, it depended on how my body responded to it. And that's the thing, I didn't know how fast it would take us to get pregnant, because you never know about how your body's going to respond to birth control and get it out of your system and things like that. So I got it taken out, and we kind of just started trying. You know, we weren't expecting to get pregnant. I mean, obviously when you have sex, it just, you know, you can get pregnant, but we just kind of were just, you know, having fun, whatever. Then April, I just decided to stop at Family Dollar on my way home and get a pregnancy test. I'd taken a couple previous weeks, like in February and March, and they were all negative, and I was just like, you know, I wasn't worried about it in general, but I just decided that I wasn't going to take any more tests unless I really felt like it. And it was just something like that came over me, like on the way home from work, like to just stop and get a pregnancy test and take it. And I was like, okay. So I stopped on my way home from work, and me and my mom are both LuLaRoe consultants. So we have our Lula room downstairs in my house. So my mom was on her way here too, and we also work together. So I stopped at Family Dollar, and then I just came home. I came upstairs and I took it. And I was just kind of like walking around the house, just like waiting for time. My mom needed a charger for the iPad, so I went into my room, I got the charger, then I came back in the bathroom and I sat down and I looked at it and it said pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I was so excited. Obviously you're excited, scared, nervous. You just aren't sure how it's all going to work. And he's my first, so I was like shocked. I've always wanted kids, but you know, when you see that pregnant on a pregnancy test, you're just like, oh my goodness, like where do we even start? So my mom yelled at me again and said, don't forget the charger. And I was like, Mom, I'm pregnant. And it was kind of like a scared cry because when I went down the steps, she met me like halfway and hugged me and said, Taylor, are you excited? Are you happy? Or are you excited? Or are you scared? And I said, I'm happy. And she said, well, that's the way you yelled at me sounded like you were scared. But you know, you're always scared when you find out you're pregnant anyway, because you have to take care of another human being. Um, so after that, my husband works construction. So he comes home about 6:30 every night. And I was downstairs and I was waiting on him. And he pulled in the driveway and I walked out the basement doors and I had it behind my back. And as he turned to come out of the door, I had it. And he was excited once. He kind of just kind of looked at me. And then he got up and hugged me and, you know, told me that he loved me and all of that. So we were both very excited. So the next day I called my OBGYN to make an appointment, and they usually don't see, you know, make you your first appointment until you're like 8 to 10 weeks along. Well, me and my mom were trying to like backtrack because it's kind of hard because my periods my whole life have been irregular. So it was kind of hard to backtrack, but when we did, we thought I was close to 8 weeks. So I called him and made an appointment. I told him, and I said, I think I am close to 8 weeks, but I'm not 100% sure because my periods, you know, are all irregular and things like that. So I make my appointment, and it was April 17th when we found out. They didn't get me into the doctor until May 8th, the beginning of May. So I went to the doctor when it was time to come, and they did the vaginal ultrasound, and they said, yep, there's a baby. But we'll backtrack a little bit because I really wasn't sick. I really didn't have any morning sickness. I felt a little tired at first, but I was never sick or anything. So for me to find out I was pregnant, I was shocked because I figured, like, you know, I'd have morning sickness because you hear of all of these like horrible things, and I didn't have any of that, which I'm so blessed because I hate puking. So I'm so glad that I didn't have anything of that nature. So I went to the doctor and they did the ultrasound, and they said, well, you look to be like you are just now 8 weeks along. So I was only like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that, when I had found out. So I must have gotten pregnant like the second week of March. I don't really know. When they would ask me like when you got pregnant, I'd be like beginning of March. I have no idea what day or anything like that. So we, you know, go to the doctor, they do the ultrasound, my doctor, you know, checks my belly, all of that, and then they make me another appointment for like a month later. So I actually had like the perfect pregnancy. I couldn't have asked for anything better because the only thing that I had was sciatica, which it came and went. It wasn't like it was all the time. But you know, I didn't have anything, so I'm not like trying to brag or anything, but I wasn't sick. I felt a little tired. Other than that, everything was awesome. But when I found out, I did know it was a boy. Like from the time that I peed on the stick, I knew. I told my mom, I said, Mom, it's a boy. And she's like, Taylor, now how do you know that? You are having like the same pregnancy. You didn't have any morning sickness or anything like that. And I was the exact same, and I had 2 girls. I was like, no, Mom, it's a boy. And she's like, okay, you know, whatever. So I go to my doctor's appointment. Everything was always good. I didn't have anything to stress about. I didn't stress or worry my entire pregnancy. So it was July when we went to ultrasound in Columbus and found out that he was a boy. So, I mean, I knew from the beginning, and I had always prayed, nothing against girls because I don't care as long as it's healthy. But I always prayed that my firstborn would be a boy. I wanted the rotten, muddy, dirty little boy. And it kind of it makes me teary-eyed because you pray for something and then it comes true. So I was really excited that, I got exactly what I wanted. But I mean, I wouldn't have cared either way. As long as my baby's healthy, that's all that matters to me. So we were looking at baby names before we even found out, sorry, a little teary. We looked up baby names before we even went to ultrasound, and we had a little girl's name picked out. My husband picked it, and I was going through Pinterest, and I couldn't, every name that I said to him for a boy, it was like, no. And that's when it kind of hit me, like, for sure that it was a boy, like, even before we found out he was what he was, because we had all this little girl stuff figured out, and it was like a boy. We didn't have a name. I was looking up little boy things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be so hard. You can't find hardly any cute little boy clothes or anything like that. And here I am on Pinterest pinning all this little girl stuff. But that's when it finally hit me that, I truly believe that this is a little boy because we can't decide on anything. And as you can see, his room is baseball because me and my husband both, he played baseball in college. I played softball pretty much my whole life. So we're a very sports family. So when I was on Pinterest, I was looking up names and things for like sports people's name, and I seen Wrigley, and it was spelled Rigley, and it was after Wrigley Field where the Cubs play. And I was like, that's his name. And I just knew. I was like, that is his name. And when I told my husband, he was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. And my dad's middle name, his dad's middle name, his grandpa, my grandpa, all of their middle names are Allen. So Wrigley Allen is what we ended up naming him. But when we found out what he was at ultrasound, I looked at my husband and I said, his name's Wrigley. And my husband's like, it's Wrigley. And I was like, okay. Like, we knew that day that that's what his name was going to be. And I didn't have any doubts. I just kind of like, it's just like I had a feeling like I knew. So after we found out, we waited 2 weeks before we had our gender reveal party. And it was so hard. Because if anybody knows me that's watching this knows that I have a big mouth. And I don't like keeping secrets. So especially when it comes to, the gender of your child. So we waited 2 weeks, and everybody was like, oh no, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's a girl, it's a boy. And I gained like 25 pounds. So he, at birth was 813. So then you have to add your placenta. So I didn't really gain much extra weight, but everybody was looking at me like, oh, you're carrying high. No, she's carrying low. Like, what's the heart rate? So we had a lot of people guess that it was a boy. I think just because our family has a ton of girls, they wanted a boy so bad. Well, on my side of the family, my husband's side of the family has a lot of boys. It's kind of like opposite. But my dad's family has a lot of girls on the side, so I think everybody wanted a little boy. So I ordered one of those like baseballs that have the powder in the inside. That's what we did. I threw the ball to my husband, and he hit it, and it blew out blue. So from then on, it was awesome, like trying to like buy his clothes and his nursery and things. But honestly, like, my whole pregnancy was so good. I didn't have anything to worry about. I was just kind of laid back. I did things that I enjoyed still. I didn't like try and cut back on really anything. I ate what I wanted. I really didn't have any cravings except for I wanted stuff that was cold, which would be normal because we didn't have air conditioning last summer. So I wanted like ice cream and popsicles and ice and cold water, and that was about it. That was the only thing that I really craved. Except for like at the end of my pregnancy, I craved DiGiorno pizza. But that's my favorite pizza anyway. So, that was about it. So as the months went on, we kept going to the doctor. Everything was always good. I had my glucose test. It came back. I did have low iron, so I had to take iron pills, which I do believe I still have, just because I do get tired often. But I mean, it also could be breastfeeding. I still take my prenatal vitamins because of that. So everything was perfect. My doctor always told me, like, I feel like you don't even need us. And I was like, well, I'm good. So then it came time for around December, because his birthday is December 20th. His due date was the 26th. So right after Christmas. And I kept going to the doctor because at your last month you go like every week, and they kept checking me. Nothing was progressing. I really wasn't thinning. I wasn't dilating. So at my last appointment, which would have been the 18th of December, I went in and my doctor checked me, and she said, you are dilated like a fingertip on your pinky. And I was like, you're serious? And she said, yeah, I'm serious. You're not thinning. You're not dilating. So she's like, there's two options. You can either wait it out and I won't let you go past 42 weeks, or you can get induced. And I really didn't want to get induced because I've heard horror stories of, you're in labor for so many hours and then end up having to have a C-section, and I didn't want that. But then again, I wanted him here, and I wanted him here before Christmas. So, I just decided. I went home, I talked to my mom, I talked to my husband, and I just decided that I was going to get induced, and I was going to, if it happens to have a C-section, I don't care. He has to come out either way. So, and that was my other thing. People freak out about, vaginal birth and C-section. You're always worried about it. I wasn't, because I knew that he had to come out. Like, one way or another, he was coming out. So there was no reason for me to stress about it. And my mom always gave me the talk, like, Taylor, you can't freak out when you go into labor. You can't, put stress on the baby. So I didn't stress. And it's weird because I thought, like, before I got pregnant, that I would be one of those moms that freak out about everything. And it was just like, it was so normal. And that's why I like want a lot of kids. I always told everybody, if every pregnancy's like his, I'll have a football team. I loved being pregnant. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And when he was finally here, like, I was like, a month later, I was sad because I liked being pregnant, even though, like, I love having him here more. But, going back to labor, I wasn't scared because I knew, like, he had to come out. So I go the next day, which was December 19th. I called the doctor and I told her that I wanted to be induced. And she said, okay, let me call you back and see if we have any room in the maternity ward. So, okay, so see if we have any room in the maternity ward. So I called at like 9:30, I believe, and or no, I called her at like 8:30, and she called me back at like 9:30 and said, do you want to have a baby today or tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went in, I had him at SOMC, Southern Ohio Medical Center in Portsmouth, Ohio. And my doctor was Dr. Roberts. And I also seen Elisa, which I loved. I love my doctors in general, but Elisa was just awesome. And then there was another one, Dr. Hamilton. So I seen those three, and Dr. Roberts has her own office at SOMC. So she was awesome the whole time, you know, but I went in I had to be there at 5:30 on Tuesday night, which was December 20th, or December 19th, and I had to have a Foley bulb put in. Now, let me tell you, the thing is painful, and you have contractions the whole entire time. The whole time. So they put that in at about 6:30, and it didn't fall out until 1 a.m. So what that is, it's a Foley bulb. Like, so it's a bulb, and they insert it in your cervix, and it thins your cervix out. And they come in every hour, and they pull on it. So it was very painful. But I got through it. It was fine. It was painful, but I knew it had to be done. So it was kind of just like whatever. So from 1 to 5 a.m. I slept. They let me get some rest. And then they came in at 5 and started my Pitocin. And I was fine. I just was having small contractions. At 8 a.m. on December 20th, they came in and broke my water, which a lot of people told me like hurts. Mine didn't hurt, you know, they just laid me back, broke it, and I was fine. I laid there. Was having contractions. My family was coming in and out of the room. Everything was good. I mean, I was all right until about 10 o'clock. And then my contractions started getting stronger and closer together. So they gave me, I can't even remember the name of the medicine, and it only lasted about an hour. And I asked him, I said, can you give me something else, or, you know, what's the next step? And they said, well, we can give you more of this, and it's not going to be as good as what the first round was, or we can go ahead and put your epidural in. And so about the epidural, at first I didn't want it. I wanted to have a natural birth. And then after a couple months, I thought, you know, I'm going and having a child. I'm not here to impress anybody. So if I can have something that eases the pain, I'm going to take it. So at about 12 o'clock, they put my epidural in, and in the room, you're only allowed to have you and your husband. And I think the worst part of labor was putting the epidural in, just because you have to be bent over, you have your belly, you're trying to go through contractions, you're trying to breathe through them. And that was the worst part of mine, honestly. Like, I was good. So, the anesthesiologist that put my epidural in was fantastic. She was awesome. When she would put it in my back, she was like, can you feel it closer to the right or to the left? And I told her, and she fixed it, and we were good to go. So after that, I just kind of laid in bed. The only side effect that I had from the epidural was I got the chills. So I was laying there and I was shivering, but I wasn't cold. And I asked the doctor, I said, is this normal? And she said, yeah, it's normal. You'll be fine. Like, it's just a side effect. And I was like, okay. So I just laid there, and then all of a sudden, it was like out of nowhere. Oh, my whole family's in the room just sitting there. They're all talking. I'm talking to them. And I said, I'm going to puke. And they're like, you're going to puke? And I'm like, right now I'm going to puke. So my friend Kayla handed me a trash can, and I puke in it. And here's my dad. All I see him is running across, like, to get out the door because he can't do puke. So Hi, baby. I puked and I was all right. So, that was at about 2, and they did this really cool thing where they laid me on my side and put my foot on the footrest stirrup, I think is what they're called, and they laid me on my left side first. They came in an hour and checked me, and I was still dilated to like a 4.5. They turned me to my right side. Hi, baby. They turned me to my right side, and they came back in an hour, and I was dilated to a 9.5. And all my family was outside, like eating pizza, and my husband's stepdad went out the door and said, she's dilated to a 9.5. And my mom like didn't believe him, because I was just an hour later just dilated to a 4. So my mom like couldn't believe it. Do you guys say hi? You guys say hi? So I was dilated to a 9.5 in no time, and I felt when I was laying on my right side, I felt like my groin or my hamstring was going to cramp up. So I kept telling them that, and they're like, Taylor, it's just the pressure. They're just the pressure, like you're ready to push. So we waited. Everybody left except for my husband, my mom, and my 2 best friends, Sam and Karina. Those 4 were the only ones in. They were the only ones in the room. So the doctor came in and she said, "Are you ready? Are you ready to have your baby?" And I was just like, "Yeah, let's do this." But I was like, I'm about to give birth to another human being that I'm going to have to take care of. And it was such a beautiful experience, and I'm glad that I got to have such a good pregnancy and a good labor and delivery, and my nurses and my doctor and my family were all supportive, and they were just awesome, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. So one of my best friends, Karina and Sam, they both were in there, and Karina had my mom's camera and she was taking pictures, and it was funny because I'm in like the middle of a push, and my doctor says, "Hold on, stop for us," and I'm like, I'm in the middle of a push, and she moved the bed out so Karina could get behind the bed and take pictures, and that's when I knew that this doctor is absolutely awesome, and I will never go anywhere else. Just because she took the time to realize that, these are special moments, and that's how it should be. So I started pushing about 5 o'clock, I think. And I did 5 pushes, and he was out at 5:15 on December 20th of 2017. And it's emotional to talk about because giving birth and giving a life to a child is something that is absolutely incredible. And I love that I got to experience it. And he came out, and he was beautiful, and he's still beautiful. And I looked at my doctor and I said, "Is it still a boy?" Because that's one thing I was like freaking out, because I didn't know, like, did they read the ultrasound right? Did they read it wrong? And my doctor, Dr. Robert, said, "Daddy, is he a boy?" And my husband said yes. And I like, excuse you. And another really cool thing that I loved about my doctor was every time that I asked her about something, like I wanted to deliver him myself, and I wanted to do delayed cord clamping, she was for it. I mean, she never once was against it, against anything I wanted to do. So when his head was out, she told me to lean forward. And I did another push, and then his shoulders came out, and then I grabbed him and pulled him automatically to my chest. And it was the best day of my life. Oh gosh. I didn't think I was going to cry, but I guess when you talk about your child, that it's just something that you do. And I was so excited. It's just awesome. Having a child is absolutely awesome. And even if your pregnancy and labor and delivery are rough and that it's rough and it's hard, that all doesn't even matter when your child gets here, because that's all you think about. I mean, that's all you care about. And all the pain that you had, and I mean, I can't really say, like, morning sickness and stuff, it's all worth it because you have your child here. So but he is awesome. He is the best baby. He's happy. When he was born, which another thing I loved about SOMC is they never moved him from my chest until I was ready. So I had him at 5'15", and he didn't have his weight measurements or his length or anything measured until like 8:30 that night, because he was on my chest and my family was visiting, and they didn't care about the test. And I think that's awesome. Unless there is a medical condition or situation that your child needs to be removed from you, they shouldn't have to be. So that's what I loved. I love that they didn't take him from me. And so he visited with me and our family, and everybody was happy and emotional, and it was just the best day. I mean, it was awesome. So, you know, after my epidural, really, they said, like, you're not supposed to get up. But I got right up. Like, I was fine. Like, my legs weren't, you know, bad or anything. I went to the bathroom while he was visiting with family. I went to the bathroom, and she was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, you shouldn't do that because you might pass out. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I just need to go to the bathroom. So, yeah. So this is how we got Wrigley Allen Malone. You know? He's the best baby. Is he the best baby? Yes. So, I'm forever thankful that God blessed me with him, and I just want to tell you, like, those who are trying to conceive or soon to be a mom and dad, that your life will forever change when you have a baby, and it'll change for the better. And all those, all the pain, the sleepless nights, everything is worth it. I mean, that's one thing with Wrigley. He has slept, and I truly believe his temperament came from the fact that I didn't stress at all my whole pregnancy. I wasn't stressed. I didn't put any stress on him. He was just in my belly, and he just chilled out. And that's why I really believe he is so happy and sleeps at night, and never really has, I mean, really a bad day. He's just the best baby. And I really believe, like, once you're pregnant, do not stress. Because actually around, was I 20 weeks, in my 20 weeks or 30 weeks, he was still breech, and they said, you know, if he doesn't turn by whatever week, 38 weeks or 35, something, I don't know, that we're gonna have to talk about a C-section. And I didn't stress about it, because he had to come out either way, you know. It was kind of just whatever for me. So for those soon-to-be moms or just new parents, I hope you enjoy your baby as much as I enjoy mine, and your life will be awesome. Your baby will be awesome. So thank you for joining our channel, and you will definitely be seeing more of us, because we will be doing more videos, breastfeeding, cloth diapering, baby gear, mom gear, all those things. So thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again. Say bye. Look, say bye. Say bye. Bye, guys.